Hello and welcome to this very special presentation of RiffWiki interviews. I'm Dave Chadwick, aka Sugar Ray Dodge. I am the editor-in-chief of RiffWiki.net, which is a fan wiki based on the works of RiffTrax. And for anybody who doesn't know, RiffTrax is this comedy troupe featuring Mike Nelson, Kevin Murphy, and Bill Corbett from Mystery Science Theater 3000. You can check out all their awesome works at rifftrax.com. Yesterday, I had the great privilege of talking to Tommy Wiseau, legendary actor, writer, and director of the cult phenomenon, The Room. We talk about a number of things, including the upcoming RiffTrax live show on May 6th. Tickets are available now at fathomevents.com and other places. I'll put the links to where you can get tickets in the show notes of this video. Before we get to the interview, I'd like to say thanks to the good folks at RiffTrax for making this interview possible. It's a great honor for me, and I had a lot of fun doing it, and hopefully this will lead to further audio interviews with a number of awesome people in the future. I'd also like to briefly mention another project I'm doing right now. It's called Mystery Science Storybook, bedtime tales based on the worst movies ever. I'm taking my love of bad movies and combining them with my graphic design skills to bring you an original, fully illustrated graphic novel. Each chapter will be a parody of a classic bad movie. In fact, you can read the completed first chapter of the book, which is a parody of Manos the Hands of Fate, on the official blog for the project, MysteryScienceStorybook.com. We're running a Kickstarter campaign to help out with the production, promotion, and other costs relating to the project, and if you'd like to throw a few dollars our way to help make the book happen, it would be greatly appreciated. Let's get to what you all came here for. The following interview was recorded on March 31st, 2015. Hey everybody, I'm Dave Chadwick, aka Sugar Ray Dodge, coming to you from the prestigious RiffWiki.net studios here in glorious Weber County, Utah. Today we have a very special treat. It's our very first audio interview, and it's with none other than the legend himself, Tommy Wiseau, director of the cult phenomenon from The Room. Tommy, I can't tell you what an honor it is talking with you today. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you for contacting me. I'm glad to be on your program.
You know, before we get talking about The Room and about the upcoming live show, I'd like to talk just a little bit more about yourself, just kind of like for those who don't know, who might be listening to this for the first time. Tell us who you are and what you do and why you're so famous.
Well, it's, I'm a filmmaker slash actor producer. I created The Room, and it was not intentional. Like a lot of people, if you blog about it, people will probably thinking that this is just the accident. Nothing happened by accident. I always encourage people to see The Room on DVD or Blu-ray behind the scene, and so you can see it. Perfect example of this, for example, script. People say the script did not exist. Actually, it did exist. But, it is what it is. I like people. I like to travel. The Room will be screening past 12 years. So I'm very happy. And any fans of The Room who are listening to this interview, I will say to you, thank you very much. And hopefully I'll see you at the next screening of The Room, or hopefully you can watch The Neighborhood. That's my new project.
All right, outstanding. So I kind of want to talk about just like a little bit of the inspiration behind The Room. Anybody who wants to make a movie has kind of like this drive inside of them that compels them to do it. And usually this inspiration comes from a movie or several movies that have like a tremendous impact on their life. I've heard a story about you that one of these movies was, and I'm not sure if this is true or not, but one of these movies that inspired you this way was 101 Dalmatians. And that seems to me like such a great insight to you as a person. I mean, is that true? Could you elaborate on this story a little bit? Because I think it's fascinating.
Well, one of the truth is that also for kids, actually, I did watch this movie, but I don't think at the time when I was, I believe, 8 years old or younger, influenced me because I didn't realize that I became the filmmaker slash actor producer. I think that my influences come out from, I may say, from James Dean and the time when I was studying film for quite a few years. So you see, again, when people, but you're right, partially probably influenced somewhat, I'll be honest with you. Mm-hmm. But the same token, I always feel that I influence myself. However, some of the movie, it does affect you. For example, Casablanca.
That's a great movie, yeah.
Gun of Navarone or Citizen Kane or Orson Welles, You see, citizen game, we have very much so in common, the same with James Dean and et cetera, what I create. And I didn't realize these people exist. So I discovered by studying movies and characters and people, et cetera. So at the beginning, some of the people discredit microactivity, me as a filmmaker, but to respond to your question somewhat, some of the people who wanted to influence, it depends what your interest is. I have a broad interest. So I always say to filmmakers or people who ask me about it, say the more skills you have, the better. It's not like you used to be start the film and that's it. No, that's not it. It is that you have to have interests about politics, interests about people, human behavior, etc. And that's why in the room we have many layers. It's like a foundation of a big building, and it's a very solid foundation. And sometimes you as a filmmaker, including myself, you have to understand that some people will be very sincere by critic of your project, but some of it you find a bad apple, so you move on. You don't try not to affect your creativity. And proof of this in my life, for example, I created The Neighbors, and as you know, we approved the riff track, even though I'm not the same page with the riff track people, because they're making fun of the movie, but the same token, I'm pro freedom. So they approach us, I don't know if you know about it, and I say, yeah, sure, they bought the license, they are very legit, and I'll be glad to, I told them to promote the event, which will be on May 6th.
Yep.
I just want to plug it in, this audience know what this interview is about, so it's not connected to Riff Track.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's my answer. Now more on next question.
What was writing the script like? What were some of the challenges that you faced when you were putting in the time, putting the story of the room to paper for the first time?
This is a very good question. You see, this is, again, for some of you guys listening, I have to express myself that some of you who are, not you personal, but some of the douchebags, some of the people who do not respect filmmakers, especially independent. I noticed in the past, I'll be honest with you, David, in past, I think 4 years, this better injustice was made to filmmakers. Forget about me, come on, but people who are actually creating good movies, they are independent. It's extremely difficult to actually present your project, publicly. And some of it, it's also causing the fact of the people who actually criticize people who actually don't know what they're talking about, Again, you see, this is the dilemma with we filmmaker or actors, face it. And I always say, think positive, For the filmmakers, actors, I always give them advice. Say, think about 20% first before you're the 100. In my case, to respond to your question, the room original is supposed to be play. So I did a lot of research in the Los Angeles area, and I discovered that number of people actually go to see play, and number of people going to the American theater cinema, it doesn't compute. My question was to myself, say, hey Tommy, do you do the play for two weeks run, maybe you have 400 people, or you have better vision, you see? So again, this is a great question which you asked, because this is what my vision comes and say, no, I will do my way, not the highway. And the fact is I never approached in the studio because I knew the studio will not produce. Either though, it was a chance to do that. After I finished the room, we did approach Palma picture, here you go.
Yeah.
That's the fact. But they say, no, thank you, Mr. Wiseau, and maybe next time. I said, okay, no problem. So now they come to me and say, Tommy, do you want to do this? It's too late right now, right? But at the same token, I'm never upset about people who say no to me, because today's perfect example, as you probably know, we have The Neighbors on the Hulu, and the Hulu is owned by the CBS, and I'm very happy to work with these people. So it's, again, this is the thing with in America, you have to believe it in your dream as well, your creativity, some of the negative stuff put on the side. Anyway, move on, next question.
Okay. Let's talk about the very first screening of The Room. And I read Greg Sestero's book, and he tells this very touching story that I felt was very inspiring about him seeing you watch the movie for the first time at the premiere, and that he said that he felt, and this is him saying this in the book, I'm just paraphrasing what he says, was that he felt that you, no matter what anybody else says about the movie, is that you had a dream, you did what it took to make that dream happen, and nobody can ever take it away from you because it was just right up there on the screen. Can you tell us what it was like for you that night to see like your movie right there on the big screen for the first time?
Again, yeah, I remember very well. We invite all Hollywood. The person who actually discovered James Dean and Marlon Brando, them and they're correct to it. I don't want to drop the name, but that's a fact. Probably mentioned in the book. But what was for me was a happiness. The answer either was somewhat what the response I received. I always say it doesn't matter what the response. So again, Greg's book, I say very openly, he knows I love him very much and I support him, but I support him in his book only 40%. That's a fact.
Okay.
Why is that? Because some of the stuff is exaggeration and some of the stuff it's not 100% correct. But I think he did a good job, and that's the story here. Now, to respond to your question about what happened the first day, the premiere, we had a big premiere. So I personally think was fall down. I mean, people did enjoy it, even though they turned their heads and say, "God, what the heck is this?" But again, I did the room and I prove everything, and people don't realize from the sound to quirking, camera angle or some of it, I would say, and perfection. And I say, you know what, I have to draw the line. So it was very difficult because that was my first project, number one. Number two, we used the two cameras, the 35 and HD. And then again, some of you who listen to this who actually don't understand the process, what was the vision behind it, why I bought, for example, cameras, equipment, etc., because I was thinking about a new project. And proof today is the neighbors, we used the same equipment, lighting, and some of the lens from the roof. And also I did the Homeless in America, but never mind about that. So to respond to your question again, it was good and bad at the same time, but I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it because I say, wow, actually my people see it, and it's sparkling to me, like I say, well, how can they understand that this is different cookie cutter from Hollywood? And that was the time when I also realized that people was like, wow, we never saw something like that. So perfect example, when the James Franco, there was a time, I don't know if you remember, he did the movie with James Dean, about James Dean, and I was driving by FedEx, not FedEx, but Fairfax. I saw his poster, and I said to myself, is Johnny in the room supposed to be naked or not? And I say, how far we can go as a filmmaker? I'm as a filmmaker, and the director say, hey, well, you can use it, little briefs or whatever, underwear, whatever. But I say, no, we go extra miles. If for example, Richard Gere can be naked, why not Johnny? And today, a lot of people, some of critics, they are very like, oh, Paul, why Johnny is naked? But if Richard Gere is naked, it's okay. But in the room, that is a perfect example that the room people tendency have to be out the movie, but at the same time, they don't understand what the joy is. The room connects people. So I noticed also in the first screening, for some reason, people didn't collect it. Even though we got a negative response from some of the public, but it's still they connected. I think people enjoy it, and that's my story with the first day screening. And you probably know we screened for 2 weeks, and then a lot of people, I got a lot of emails, and they say, can we see your room? And then again, some of the people blogging about, shame on you. I would say, general speaking, hopefully somebody listening to this, because it's true. The story is that we, after premiere of the room, and 2 weeks running, because I don't know if David, you're familiar with the rules of the Academy Awards?
Yeah.
So you have to run for 2 weeks, and that's what we booked the theater for 2 weeks. We couldn't run even we have to. We want to because everything was booked, fully booked. And the theater, how it works, cinema, they usually book 6 months in advance. Sometimes they have an event like festival and other stuff, and 12 months in advance. So it's not. I learned this by doing what I'm doing now. I'm familiar with the detail of how system works, but at the time I didn't know. So what happened was 2 weeks wrong. We um, was screening in the Wilshire screening room, and then we got so many people around the room that I got into trouble with the fire marshal. And the owner of the theater, he said, "Hey, you cannot do this." And I said, "What is that?" Well, all those people sitting on the floor, this is the.
There were people sitting on the floor? That's amazing. I was just struck. You said that there were people sitting on the floor. It was that well attended?
Yeah, it was attended very much so. That was well heated, but I had a Q&A, and I couldn't actually. I was juggling. I remember like today, between people.
Right.
So what I did, since we had a connection with the theater people I called Landmark, and at the time they owned this theater in the South that they don't own anymore. Mm-hmm. So funny way, people are in the business, but the room still survive.
Yeah.
I'm just laughing because it's a funny story. So I called him, and he supported me to say, "Tommy, it's one thing what we can do for you. Will be midnight screening or 10 o'clock. We cannot do differently because we're fully booked." I said, "You know what? I take whatever you want me, whatever you have." So that's how everything started, Mm-hmm. So again, some of the people who discredit my creativity as well, distribution, it's not right, but eventually people understand that people are trying to be famous because of certain statement or whatever. That this is true story. So move on, next question.
I hear people say that like the room is a failure, and I say no. The room is not a failure. The Room is actually one of the most successful films in the history of Hollywood. People still go to screenings of The Room to this day. So do people like stop and ask you for pictures and autographs? I mean, like, to what level do people recognize you when you go out into the streets and say, "Hey, you're Tommy Wiseau"? Do you get a lot of that, or is it more mild?
But it doesn't matter for me, What is money, I agree with you totally, because let's say if any theater show Citizen Kane, for example, which I love it, I don't know the attendance of it compared to The Room and Citizen Kane could be better. I think The Room is a different cookie from Hollywood, and some people do not give me that credit. Let's face it, that's the story. But you know what? I'm happy where I am. Right. I travel all over the world. I don't know if you know. We're screening The Room from London to Sydney, from Sydney to Denmark, Europe, etc., all over the world. I think people enjoy it. And one of the things what I discovered in the past 3-4 years that actually press, including yourself and others, they give us a little compliment. Mm-hmm. That people realize that, hey, you know what? He did the movie, but at the same token, in past, I would say 2-3 years again, people realize I opened my doors a little more, who I am, what I am. I'm American with accent, so what? Right?
Yeah.
But at the same token, negative stuff, some people say, the expression that negative is better than not, or whatever. But at the same token, I'm proud of my project the rest of my life, and I enjoy it. I attend all the screen. By the way, next screen we have in Los Angeles. I'm in San Francisco, and then we have anniversary in June. That's the 12th anniversary of The Room. And about RiffTrax again, it's May 6th.
When the first original RiffTrax commentary was released in 2009, how did you find out about it? How did you react? Did you watch the movie with the commentary? Like, what was your whole experience when it very first came out?
Well, I'll be honest with you, I didn't listen too much, except a couple clips. Mm-hmm. And straightforward, I did talk to the owner of RiffTrax at the time. Mm-hmm. And, again, I'm for freedom, so whatever they're doing is fine with me. But as long as they pay for license, that's my kicker in the sense as the original. Yeah. If it's entertainment, number one. Number two, it seems to me people enjoy it, When right. People enjoy it, why not? That's my point.
Oh, that's actually a very great response. And I have to tell you, when I first found out that RiffTrax would be screening The Room at their live events this year, or at one of their live events this year, I was surprised because this wasn't something that I ever would think would ever happen, that we'd see The Room at a RiffTrax live event. Can you tell us a story about how this came about, like from your perspective? Did they contact you, or like what was the process there?
Yeah, they contacted me, and I was very skeptical in the beginning, but then I concluded that again, this is different entertainment, and they purchase license, and I say, okay, you guys are a legit company. I think we can try it and we'll see what happens. And that's what we agree on terms of agreement, and today we're talking about it. I think they have a great reaction because, again, we had a lot of people. We have over, I would say worldwide, we probably have over 1 million or more worldwide fans of the room in America, Australia, and others. And my understanding, Richard, they are doing also Canada. That's my understanding.
Oh, yeah.
They're doing US in Canada, maybe in the future we do Australia. I'm not sure.
No, I know that they're going to be in Canada. I'll double check.
We have a lot of fans.
Just to make sure that I'm right about that. Are you
my understanding, they got a good reaction when we just have. They also screened the room at the Tribeca. So that's when everything started. They contact me and they tell me what is this about, and today we talk about Red Truck. So we'll see what happens.
Will you be at the live show in Nashville, or are you have other engagements that night?
I am not, but I'll be preparing some sort of commentary, not a commentary, but sort of teaser about the neighbors as well, about Riff Track. If somebody listening to this, I'll just say, watch the Riff Track together. This is actually, the reason I approve this, because one of the reasons was that I don't know if you know, David, but they'll be screened for over 600 or 700 theater. So actually, Riff Track make a history with the room right now. It's the same as CNN. I don't know if you know Cartoon Network. They make a history that the room is screened in TV. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
That was way back 2 years ago. They have a license for it. That was pretty cool way to do it. So again, some of the stuff is just, I think they're happy that I approve, and I think they are very cool people, Riff Track people. And again, we're not on the same page, but the same token, I think I always support pro freedom. I support people who have different ideas, and that's what the movie is about, and entertainment. If you make it happiness, put a little, smile on people in a certain form, but very respectful way, I like that. And again, I can tell you that it's nothing wrong when people criticize the room. But at the same token, if people criticize in a sincere way, not like, for example, the neighbors, we have such a great reaction worldwide, the neighbors. And again, some of the people criticize the way that it's completely off the wall. It's just, I don't even read this anymore because it's just the garbage, It doesn't make,
You can't do
when
that.
you analyze something, it has to be. You have to be something. Let me say this: if you have in New York, we have about 11 screenings sold out. We have 2,000 people, whatever, or 1,500, whatever it was, sold out screening. And you, as a reporter, report that you don't like the neighbors. It's okay, but you don't interview, for example, people who are watching the neighbors of the room, and they really physically and lyrically. I would say physically, because actually they're dancing, they do all kinds of different physical stuff in the theater. I was there, I observed. If you as a reporter do not report it, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
So again, this is the thing what I was talking to you in the beginning, that I'm sometimes very appalled with some of the people who talking not just about me, but independent theaters and independent cinema as well, the filmmaker, and they indirectly they bash them, and they actually, some of the filmmakers, I saw a couple of movies, I don't want to drop the names, so that was independent movies, but I say, wow, I want people to see this, because it's such good quality, good pace of a story, but I know some of this will be never seen by anybody, because it's sure, I would say, unpleasant. I don't want to say the word's control, but plus the situation sometimes that people go, how much money you spend on the movie and not what you actually offer to people to enjoy it. And I think the room connects movie as well, theaters as well, people. Because I got a lot, from filmmakers, people who actually talk about the room and say, hey, I didn't like this, but what about this year? I really enjoyed that one. And I like this kind of conversation because looks to me that sounds like the person analyzed this, and that's what I like. When people challenge me and say, hey, why you use green screen, for example, which people make up story about it.
Yeah.
Or why did you shoot on the roof scene? What was the reason besides this? And it's also a process of learning. So I really enjoy it when sometimes people ask some of this questions on my Q&A, because I have a lot of Q&A, and as you probably know. So move on, next question.
Okay. We usually like to end these interviews by asking, Mike, Kevin, and Bill, the guys at Riff Tracks, they riff all kinds of crazy movies. They get to choose all the movies that they riff. If there was one movie that you could get them to riff, disclaimer out there to everybody that, like, there's no guarantee that this will ever happen. But if you could, if you could choose a movie for them to riff, what do you think it would be? We actually asked this question to Alan Baugh. He was a lead actor from a movie, I don't know if you've heard about it, called Birdemic. We interviewed him last year, and we asked him this question, and he said that he would choose The Room, not knowing that The Room had already been riffed about 6 years prior. I kind of felt bad for him, but there's not really a whole lot I could have done. I mean, he's a nice guy, he's such a sweet guy, but just like, oh gosh. But if there was one movie that you could,
well, if you asked it what you would probably forget the rest of your life, I would say none. You know what? About Riff Track people, it's up to audience. If audience decide, or they decide that's their choice, I would not recommend anything because that's not my style.
Okay.
So move on, next question.
Okay. Well, that was that was really the last question that I had. And I just want to say thanks so much for talking to us. It really is such a great honor to be talking to you like this way, and I mean that. And if there's anything that we didn't cover that you'd like to talk about or to plug, the floor is yours. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Well, thank you for having me, David, on your program or your interview. Long story short, I will invite everybody May 6, 2015. So you can go to rifftrack.com or www.riffwiki.com. Also, I want to just plug in my new show. It's called The Neighbors by Tommy Wiseau on Hulu. We're very happy, good reaction. So hopefully you enjoy the room, and I'll see you next time. And don't be too serious. I mean, Riff Track, they are nice people.
Oh, yeah.
If they make you fun of it, well, let's be it. Let's have fun with it, and let's forget about the world, sometimes negative world. So I want to say you can laugh, you can cry, you can express yourself, but please don't hurt each other. I love you all. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Tommy. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Great. Thanks a lot. All right. Bye.
All right, thanks. Bye.